Welcome to the discussion video on Module 4, Responsibility Accounting and Transfer Pricing. So at the end of the discussion, we will be able to identify the factors to consider whether a company should be using a decentralized or centralized system, how centralization and responsibility accounting is related, the four types of responsibility centers, how to distinguish them from each other, the computation of the revenue variances, the support department cost allocation to the departments, to the operating departments, the concept of transfer pricing and why are we using transfer pricing, the difficulties encountered by multinational companies in using the transfer pricing. So before we proceed with the organizational structures for businesses, let us first identify uh, what is the concept of responsibility accounting. So responsibility accounting is defined as referring to the various concepts and tools used to measure the performance of the people and the departments of an organization. So when it is defined, it is said that it refers to the various concepts and tools used in measuring the performance of the people and the departments of an organization. So as the term implies, responsibility accounting accounts for the responsibilities of those charged in with governance and those departments charged with the functions. So we account for the responsibilities of the departments and the officials entrusted with the functions. So yun ang konsepto ng responsibility accounting. So how do we quantify and assign amounts on those responsibilities? Later on, we will discuss that. So there are two types of organizational structures across organizations. One is centralized and second is decentralized. So maybe in your business courses, you already have discussed or you have learned these concepts. So daanan lang natin ng mabilis. When we say centralized, the majority of the decisions and the authority lies in the top management. So, yung mga major decisions ay nanggagaling sa top management, kaya siya centralized. On the yung otherwise, yung if the decision-making authority is given to the lower level of management, it is considered as decentralized. So let us analyze first yung decentralization continuum, comparing centralized organization with decentralized organizations. So normally, kapag bago ang isang organizations, just like here, yung the age of the firm is young, normally, because of the many challenges na kinakaharap ng isang business when it is just starting up, ang gusto ng top management is centralize muna ang major decisions dahil ikaw ay bago pa lang. You are adapting to changes, to competition, and to many other factors in the introduction of your product or your service. So, dapat, kapag bago ang isang business, normally, ay rest pa rin ang major decisions on the top management. And when it matures, tsaka siya ginagawang decentralized. When it is when the company is small, normally centralized yan because merong time, kumbaga yung time ng top management and the resources ay kayang-kaya pang i-manage using a centralized. Unlike kapag large companies, normally dinedelegate yan sa regional units or sub-units para mas madali ang decision making. The stage of product development, kapag stable na ang product development, normally sinecentralize. Bakit sinecentralize? Stable na because pwedeng i-monitor pa rin ng top management yung performance dahil stable naman na eh. Kumbaga, the major decisions will not really impact the organization dahil nasa stable conditions na siya. Unlike kapag pagpaakyat pa lang or in the growth stages of product development, kailangan bigyan mo ng decentralized system ang isang organization dahil normally on a growing product development, diyan lumalabas yung competition, diyan lumalabas yung tight competition in the area, maraming products na nagre-replicate ng ini-introduce mong product. So ano ang vital during the growth stage is yung speedy, mabilis na pagde-decide on several factors. Kaya binibigyan ng decentralized system itong mga organizations under a growing product development stage. The growth rates low for centralized, for decentralized naman rapid. Applicable yan doon. The impact on profits of incorrect decisions kapag centralized high because it affects all the units in the organization. Pero kapag decentralized, kung mali ang decision ng isang unit lang ang affected. Kaya low ang impact kapag naka-decentralized ka. The management's confidence in the subordinates, low kapag centralized. Ang ibig sabihin, kung hindi ganoon kataas ang confidence ng top management on the lower levels of management, normally centralize na yan para siya pa rin ang magde-decide on major items or on major management issues. Kapag decentralized naman, normally ay mataas ang confidence ng top management on the lower levels of lower level managers. The degree of control under centralized is tight because yun nga, top management ang decide and moderate or loose under decentralized. Next tayo. Andito pa rin tayo sa Decentralization Continuum. So let us pick some items na lang siguro. Yung iba ay madali namang maintindihan. Geographic diversity. Kung ang tinutukoy dito is the location. Kung widespread, magkakalayo ang mga businesses, it is impractical for the management to monitor the operations and to make decisions for every unit, lalo na kung ang geographical location ay magkakalayo. So normally kapag gano'n, decentralized ang system natin dahil widespread ang location. The cost of communications under decentralized is high because of dahil decentralized ang functions, kumbaga, the cost of communications is high. Ang tinutukoy ditong cost of communications is the flow of communications from the operations up to the top level. The ability to resolve the conflicts under centralized, easy. Under decentralized, difficult. Ang ibig sabihin nito ay ang ibig sabihin nitong difficult when we say decentralized is the concept of yung pag-a-analyze natin ng conflicts. For example, merong management issues on one operating unit. Ultimately, ang magde-decide pa rin kapag mga management issues is yung top management. So papaano kapag lahat ng sub-units ay may problema, it will be difficult these sub-units are operating their own internal policies. So it will be difficult for the top management to resolve all these conflicts at the time. Unlike kapag naka-centralize ang functions, it will be easy for the management to issue one internal policy across all the organization. So, parang ganun ang tinutukoy nitong ability to resolve conflicts. Level of employee motivation is low under centralized because normally lahat ng decisions ay nanggagaling sa taas. Level of organizational flexibility high for decentralized because you are given the opportunity to decide for your decentralized unit. Response time to changes under decentralized mabilis because ikaw na mismo ang magde-decide on your decentralized unit. So more or less, when you look at the disadvantages and advantages of decentralization, there are several factors to consider, especially when we look at the decentralization continuum. So one advantage on decentralization is yung personnel. They are motivated and they are inspired because of the job enrichment. Kumbaga, uh, uh, you are empowered as an employee in making, especially to mga lower level managers, in making the decisions that are for the betterment of the decentralized unit. It reduces decision making time, yes, because of hindi na dadaanan yung hierarchy, the levels of hierarchy in the organization because yung decentralized top manager, decentralized lower level manager na ang magde-decide. However, there are disadvantages in using a decentralized system. What? Sometimes it lacks goal congruence because normally ang mga decentralized units, they make their internal policies for their decentralized unit, and kapag pinagsama-sama mo itong mga internal policies na to, maybe they are not achieving the total or the organizational goals, kaya minsan nawawala yung goal congruence na yan. So paano i-address yan is to look into the goals of the decentralized units and to assure that it is congruent to the goals of the company as a whole. It is expensive because you have to train your lower level managers in making the big decisions for the company. So, ano ang konsepto ng responsibility accounting is managers delegate decision-making authority but retain responsibility for outcomes. So, like what I have defined kanina, yung responsibility accounting refers to the various concepts and tools used in measuring the performance of the people and the departments in an organizations. So, ang sinasabi lang dito, you are delegated the decision-making authority under the decentralized system. So, itong responsibility accounting, it applies to the centralized system only. Because kung hindi decentralized, kung centralized yan, wala tayong responsibility accounting na pag-uusapan. So, ang sinasabi lang under the concept of the logic in responsibility accounting ay binigyan ka, you are delegated with the authority to decide for the major decisions in your decentralized unit. However, you are accountable or responsible for the outcomes of that decentralized unit. So, yun yung i-measure mo under responsibility accounting. So, you just have to take a look at this, a quick look at this. As the department manager, you are given these costs, yung mga control, you are given a budget, a controllable and non-controllable budget, and then it will be compared after a certain period to the actual cost, and then you are measured with the variance. Kung na-achieve ba, kung if the cost is greater than the budgeted items, then i-identify din syempre yung mga non-monetary items affecting the incurrence of those variances. So, ganun ang konsepto ng responsibility reporting. So, the concept of these non-monetary measures, marami yan. So, it depends on on the capacity measures. Baka naman maliit lang kasi ang naibigay na capacity sa iyo kaya hindi na-achieve yung ganitong goal. The target baka sobrang taas. The market share, baka merong mga defects, baka merong factors on the quality of the product na probably ay wala kang control, or dun sa specifications na nandoon sa product ay maaaring dapat ay i-restructure yung processes, yung company-wide practices related to that na wala ka nang kinalaman as a department manager when you implement it. There are several factors na pwedeng i-consider when you are justifying a responsibility report, when you are justifying the variance na nandyan. Control process steps. You prepare a plan using the budgets and standards and use it to communicate output, expectations, and delegate authority. So, self-comprehensible na yan. Use responsibility accounting to record and summarize data for each organizational unit. Okay. Monitor the differences between planned and actual data at scheduled intervals. Okay. Exert influence in response to significant differences. Continue comparing data and responding, and then begin the process again. So, ang sinasabi lang dito at the onset of a responsibility accounting, you are given a a budget or a cost. Kalakip ng budget is the goal for your responsibility center. Then, you are being measured based on your actual performance. And yung actual performance na yun is compared to your goal and your budgets. Then, yung variance will be analyzed based on the quantifiable measures and the qualitative measures. So, after analyzing, you are given the chance to evaluate your previous actions and how you will be able to improve your processes in improving the performance of your responsibility center. So ganun siya, kaya ang sabi dito is to compare data and then respond and then begin the process again. Responsibility reporting from operations to top management. Unit level reports are detailed, upper level are summarized, encourages management by exception. So, ang sinasabi lang dito is the flow of responsibility reporting is from the bottom to the top. So, ang sinasabi dito, under the operational level, detalyado ang mga reports. When they reach the top level reporting, kasi yan ay kino-consolidate and then sinasummarize, it will be summarized. So, just look at this system. Tingnan mo yung department Q cost and the department R cost. These are responsibility centers. So, the department manager for Q, responsible siya for this itemized cost and this itemized cost. Then, yan ay i-forward nila. Department data are reported to the division. So, merong division A. Division A, siya ang nakakasakop kay Department Q and Department R. So, once the division consolidate the data, it is reported to the CEO. So, itong Division A, under sa kanya si Department Q and R. Si Division B, under naman sa kanya si Department X and Y. Then, it will be consolidated to reflect the total company data. So, ina-analyze per division kung saan nagkulang, kung saan nanggaling yung mga variances related to that. So, you are given, under the concept of responsibility accounting, you are given the authority to decide for your decentralized unit, and then you will also be responsible or accountable for the outcomes of your decentralized unit. So what is the disadvantage of using the responsibility accounting? While we note several advantages of responsibility accounting, like being able to empower your employees and rapid decision making, there are some notable disadvantages. One is the important details may not be visible at the upper management levels because ang data na information na dumadating sa kanila are consolidated and summarized data. Managers might promote their unit while blaming their competitor units. So pwedeng, for example, the production department is saying that kaya nagkakaroon ng mga defects on on the final output is because of the raw materials na binili ni purchasing department. So what is the tendency of that? The one department might be promoting their unit, the quality of the process of their unit, while they are blaming yung ibang department, like the production blaming the purchasing department. So there are departmental interdependencies might not be visible because of those scenarios. So these responsibility centers can be grouped into, maybe you have cost, revenue, profit, and investment center. So let us discuss, I think, most of this. When we say cost, as the term imply, ito yung mga units responsible to incur costs. They are responsible in evaluating how well the costs are controlled. In cost centers, revenues do not exist. Maybe it exists but are not under the department cost center manager's control. Maybe it exists but it cannot be measured. They focus on variances possible acceptable range. Next, the revenue center. This is responsible for generating revenue. They have no control on the selling price of cost. So, tingnan natin yung example. Yung mga sales departments daw ng mga retail store, anong responsibility nila? Magbenta and then generate revenue. Wala silang control on the selling price o kung magkano yung cost nung binebenta nila. Basta the responsibility is to generate revenue and to sell the items na nasa kanilang stores. Next is the profit center. Profit center is a combination of the cost and revenue. They are responsible for generating revenue by setting the selling prices and then by setting the cost through controlling the expenses allowed to purchase at the most economical prices. So, the goal of this profit center is to maximize the center's profit. Next is the investment center. Responsible naman ito in generating revenues and planning and controlling expenses, responsible for plant assets. Normally, yung the conversion of one classification of an asset into an investment. Goal is to maximize the rate of return on assets because they treat these assets as an investment. They evaluate the rate of return on assets and other performance measures. So normally, itong mga investment centers, these are divisions or subsidiaries of an organizations na ang responsibility lang is to find pursuits for higher revenues, and which are from from a from valid investments. These responsibility centers, yung tinutukoy natin na let's go back. Itong cost, revenue, profit, and investment center, these are all responsibility centers. They control cost center performance. Management may assign costs incurred in cost centers to revenue producing areas through service department cost allocation. They create revenue through a system of internal charges or chargebacks for the center's tangible or intangible output used by other company units. So, yung mga na-identify nating mga centers na yon, they comprise of the responsibility center of an organization. So, I think I will be ending this discussion on responsibility center, because on the next video we will discuss on how we now allocate yung service department cost across the responsibility centers. So I think that ends the discussion on the part 1 of module 4, responsibility accounting and transfer pricing. Thank you.